Then lads, welcome back to Cossy podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're gonna be diving into the latest around Arsenal. Declan Rice has arrived at the London Colony to do his medicals. He's actually undergoing his medicals right about now. He should be announced later, just as Julian Timber, who has finished his medicals at the club. We're also gonna be talking about Reiss Nelson, who has extended his deal with Arsenal today, together with William Saliba. Reiss Nelson's deal is going to be until 2027, just like Saliba's. It's a deal that doesn't make any sense for me as a person, but the fact that he has extended, it means Arsenal can get more money out of this sale in the future. And Arsenal have opened talks to sign a player from Bayer Leverkusen, not one that you think and not one that I expected, but the player is Jeremy Frimpong. Arsenal trying to sign a right back after signing Julian Timber. Does it make any sense? It really does. And I'm going to explain why signing Jeremy Frimpong after signing Julian Timber actually makes more sense than I had initially expected. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. Let's get this video to 500 likes. And in the comment box below, Rice and Timber doing their medicals at Arsenal. Do you think we will do more business in this summer? And who do you think will Arsenal sign after these two? Right, let's dive into it. Let's start off with the Declan Rice one. Now, after Julian Timber doing his medicals and completing them at Arsenal, as I reported in my last video, he's passed his medicals right very, very well. Declan Rice is the one now having his medicals at Arsenal on the same day. Now, I didn't understand why both medicals have been scheduled on the same day. It's been a very busy Friday, by the way, for Arsenal. Reiss Nelson signing, Saliba signing, the medicals of Julian Timber and the medicals of Declan Rice. Look, I don't know why all these activities were done on the same day. Some could have been done tomorrow, and probably some yesterday. But the club has decided that all these activities will take place today, and they are actually taking place today. Declan Rice is doing his medicals as we speak for Arsenal Football Club at the London Colony. He just arrived there, as you can see him, and we think he will pass his medicals as well. Now, there are a few rumors that Rice had already done his medicals before today. That was not true. According to Fabrizio Romano, the medicals were booked today and he has arrived at the Emirates Stadium and doing his medicals. So we're expecting that at least an update after he does his medicals. After the completion of the medicals, I will be giving you an update just to know whether he passed the medicals or he did not. I don't expect him to fail the medicals, to be honest. I think it's one of those top secrets. If he failed the medicals, it would be one of the most secretly and well-stored secrets in footballing history. We might not even know that he didn't pass his medicals. But anyway, Granit Xhaka leaving Arsenal yesterday and being announced as a Bayer Leverkusen player, it means that Declan Rice then becomes the direct replacement of Granit Xhaka in that midfield, and that is why Arsenal were able to sanction the move of Granit Xhaka. That is this week. So we expect Partey probably as well next week to be the one that will be let to go if Arsenal can find a potential and suitable replacement to Thomas Partey. Rice medical is ongoing. Let's wait and see what's going to come out of there. But I expect a lot of positivism. I expect a lot of good news that he's done his medicals and passed them. That is what I expect. Right, let's talk about Reiss Nelson as well. Just on the same day that Saliba signed his new deal at Arsenal, and the deal has been announced by Arsenal, Reiss Nelson has also signed his new deal with Arsenal Football Club. He's actually penned it, and it's going to be until 2027. Now, he is a player that was out of contract, and we all had our debates. We all have had our thoughts about what was really going to happen with Reiss Nelson. Was he going to go? Was he going to stay? In my opinion, I thought it would be much better if he had gone. If he had gone to a club like Brighton, maybe Ajax, maybe Feyenoord, maybe Burnley, and just to find regular game time. But Mikel Arteta seems to have been impressed by him last summer, by him last season. When he was given the chance, he actually took it. And for me, I do have a question for Mikel Arteta. If you've given a player a chance and he takes that chance, why didn't we call Reiss Nelson more times when we needed him rather than not? because there are times when Arsenal needed a change, a breath of fresh air, especially when Saka was a little bit stuck, especially when we needed a direct player, a much more direct player, someone who can get things going. And somehow we did not, call on to Reece Nelson. But whatever he did in a few games, on a few occasions, especially in that Bournemouth game, where he came in, scored a very late winner, and created a beautiful assist for Benjamin White. As well, in the Nottingham Forest game, when Saka was subbed off very, very quickly at halftime with an injury, Reece Nelson came and filled the gap very, very well. So I'm not surprised that Arsenal have given him a new deal. What I'm surprised at is I don't see him as a player that is in the direction of where Arsenal are going. Now, of course, financially, it's a very good deal. It means that Arsenal can have the backup for Saka and backup for, Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard without spending huge amounts of money on the market, especially after spending over 250 million or 240 million on 3 signings. It doesn't really look healthy if Arsenal went and splashed another maybe 100 or 70 million on another player, especially a forward. So that could be business to be done in January or next season or in next summer. So I understand when it comes to Reece Nelson staying around. It really makes a lot of sense now. I just see the picture. I really see the big picture. And he's young, and I don't think he's such a bad player. Like, the times when I've criticized players too much, I think one of the players I've criticized too much, in my opinion, has been Reece Nelson. I don't see him as a player that... I don't see him as a player that will go on to become the levels of Saka and Martinelli. But then I don't see him as a bad player. Like, you look at the teams I've suggested where he should go. Brighton, there is Karo Mitoma there, and the likes of Julio Enciso. So that's fierce competition, okay? So the fact that I even think he can play for Brighton, it means that there is a player in there. And this also means that there is a possibility that we don't sign a wide forward. It is a possibility that we don't add a forward, especially a backup for Saka, and then Reece Nelson becomes that player. He can play inverted because he's a left-footed player, so he can play inverted like Saka, and he can also play on the left-hand side, just like we saw when he came on for the Bournemouth game. So it's a deal that makes sense in a way that next season, when we go and sign a good player, maybe Moussa Diaby, anyone, you can get good amounts of money for Reece Nelson, especially if Arsenal go on to win some important silverware in the next campaign. And this is going, what I like about silverware and what I like about trophies is that they raise the overall market value of your players. Look at Manchester City in the last 6 years. You can't sign a player from Manchester City for less than 10 million. We are talking players like, James Trafford, a goalkeeper who's been playing with the under 23s for Manchester City. Is going to sign for around 10-15 million euros. For around 10-15 million euros at Burnley. We are talking about players like Romeo Lavia. We are talking about players like Bazunu, the goalkeeper at Southampton. And you look at the players that they've let go, the likes of Raheem Sterling, the likes of Alexander Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus as well. It's, for me, the market value of these players has been risen and has been, blown through proportion just because they're playing for a club that is winning titles, just because they're with a club that is absolutely good at winning, okay? So if Arsenal can win, players like Reece Nelson will actually leave the club for fees above 30 million. I really, really hope so. And because now his contract is a little bit young, we have the negotiation power and we have a lot of power when it comes to, the haggling. It will give us a lot in terms of power and advantage. So, Reece Nelson extends his deal with Arsenal. Now, the next one is Jeremy Frimpong, who's actually also one of the players that Arsenal are in talks with to bring to the Emirates Stadium. This one is one that we have to handle very, very carefully because when it comes from Bayer Leverkusen, and Arsenal have sold Granit Xhaka to Bayer Leverkusen, could there be a deal in the pipeline, or it's just one of those deals where a player is linked to a club because that club has done prior business with the other club. Now we've sold Xhaka there for 25 million euros, and it is only sensible to say or think that a publication will want to ride on the waves of that deal to say that Arsenal are trying to sign Moussa Diaby or Jeremy Frimpong. But why I think it might be an interesting deal, and why I think it's worth it talking about. Any publication in Germany or even in the transfer market world knows that Arsenal are big admirers of Moussa Diaby. And because we've sold Xhaka to Bayer Leverkusen, it would make more sense for us, for any publication to go, now Arsenal, as part of the Xhaka deal, are trying to get reciprocity by signing Moussa Diaby. This is not what is coming out. What is coming out of Germany is that Arsenal are in talks to sign Jeremy Frimpong, although they feel the deal is very difficult. So who is Jeremy Frimpong? Jeremy Frimpong is a 22-year-old Dutch right back playing at Bayer Leverkusen. He's one of the most exciting talents you'll find in the German Bundesliga. He's one of the most exciting talents that Bayer Leverkusen have produced in the last decade. Now, and when I say last decade, and I say exciting, bear in mind, just to put that into perspective for you, Bayer Leverkusen have had Kai Havertz come through their ranks. They've had players like Julian Brandt in the last decade. They have had players like Leon Bailey. They've had players like Moussa Diaby. They've also had very exciting players like Florian Wirtz, who is one of the most sought after attacking midfielders in the world right now. Okay, so just to put into perspective, Jeremy Frimpong is among that pool of quality and that pool of talent. Now, Arsenal being interested in signing him does not worry me, and it doesn't come to as a surprise to me, because one of the positions Mikel Arteta tried to fill at the beginning of the transfer window was a right back. Now, signing Julian Timber might not be all. Signing Julian Timber might not be all there is to our right back situation, because at times you could have teams that need that extra creativity to break them down. There are times where you will need a proper right back and a proper left back as well. Now, when Alexander Zinchenko tucks into midfield, most of our work with our defenders becomes defensive, which is actually not a big problem in my opinion. It just gives us that extra cover. But we've seen Liverpool play with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, and they've created a lot of chances and they've scored a lot of goals. Now, I think Mikel Arteta looks at that system and he goes, in some games, I would play Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, and Alexander Zinchenko, and probably Ben White, okay? In some games, I could play Timber, Ben White, and Saliba. And in some games, I would play Jeremy Frimpong and play Alexander Zinchenko as well. It depends on the game, and it depends on the opponent and how you want to approach the game. Now, unlike Julian Timber, unlike Ben White, if Jeremy Frimpong would arrive at Arsenal, this would change the starting 11 forever. This would change Arsenal's setup, in the back, at the back forever. Jeremy Frimpong is your Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's your Joao Cancelo. He's your Kyle Walker. He's a proper right back. So his profile is not right back stroke centre back. His profile is actually right back stroke right winger. You could play him as a right winger. But when I watched him at Bayer Leverkusen most of the time last campaign in the German Bundesliga, I thought he was a right winger. Reason being, he really pushes forward a lot, and that pushes Moussa Diaby into the midfield. He pushes Moussa Diaby inside, and then he's got the ability to overlap and run that light and hug the touchline to the end. Okay, so when you look at him play, you might think he's a right winger, but he's actually a right back. So he can play as a right back, he can play as a right wing back, and he can also play him as a right midfielder and a right winger as well. That is his profile. And personally, I've said in the last campaign that maybe Arsenal need an attacking winger. Maybe Arsenal need an attacking right back. Now, Julian Timber would be an interesting one because Timber has got the ability to play those forward passes, but then he's also got the ability to release Saka when Saka needs to make that inside run. He can find him. But still, Timber does not, optimize the abilities of Saka. I don't think Julian Timber is the kind of player that will do the Joao Cancelo role. I don't think Timber is the kind of guy that can do the Trent Alexander-Arnold role. I don't think that is his guy. That is your guy. Timber is more of a midfield player. Like, he passes a lot of passes into the final third, but he does that by joining the midfield. Jeremy Frimpong is a very different profile. He's a right winger, and he loves to run on that touchline. And when it goes wide, Saka can tuck inside, and we could see magic produced and given birth to on that right hand side. But anyway, Arsenal in talks with Bayer Leverkusen. It's not an easy deal. They're asking for huge amounts of money. Man United have been there. I'm not really sure why Man United backed out of the deal. Probably they felt right back is not the pressing of options or pressing of demands, which I would actually agree with. If you have Diego Dalot and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, that's a position you can deal with, especially if you have to deal with your centre-back position, central midfield, and striking positions as well. So let's wait and see what comes out of that. Will Arsenal get that one done? We're just watching the space. But at the moment, you cannot doubt Arsenal when it comes to getting deals done. At least not this season, not this summer.